The end of July is near, and that means it's time for the Steelers to pack the trucks and embark on St. Vincent College for another year of training camp action in Latrobe. The team reports next week, but we've got you covered after a busy offseason from the South Side. You are watching Steelers Training Camp All Access right here on KDKA TV.
Welcome to FedEx Steelers Training Camp All Access.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome inside the KDKA TV studios for another edition of Steelers Training Camp All Access. I'm Bob Pompeani, flanked by the quarterback of the program, Mr. Charlie Batch, as we're ready to go. The offseason isn't over just yet, but I know you're anxious to get things going, aren't you?
I am. This is always an exciting time of the year. I get a chance to hang out with you and Rich for the next 6 months, so it's awesome.
And hopefully there's going to be a lot of highs and not so many lows. We are ready for training camp. It starts next week in Latrobe. So let's take a look at this year's practice schedule for those of you making the trek up to St. Vincent. The Steelers report to camp Wednesday, the 26th. The first practice is the next day on the 27th. That's open to the public. All the practice fans can attend. Start at 1:55, except for the Friday Night Lights Latrobe Memorial Stadium practice. That one is slated for 7 o'clock. Again, it's August the 4th. You know, the Steelers have Mondays off during camp, and the team will have closed practices as well as days for travel for the preseason games. The final public practice, that's scheduled for Thursday, August 17th, and that's a special time of 10:30 a.m. start time. So, Charlie, you took part in many of these camps for many different coaches over the years. What stands out to you about how Mike Tomlin runs his training camps?
Yeah, I mean, right now, of course, the rules are a lot different when you get to this particular point. But the only thing I compare it to is Coach Cowher and obviously Coach Tomlin. Coach Cowher had two-a-days, more physical. But when Tomlin took over, you get to that point, and now all of a sudden you got to be a little bit more relaxed because the collective bargaining agreements, changes the way that the camp is actually conducted. But what you're going to see right now is competition battles. He's going to make it a point to now pick those position battles and now emphasize those early in camp to let people know, hey, this is the battles that we're focusing on, and every day show the team who is winning in that particular battle. So this is something that you have to compliment Coach Tomlin about. He makes it as competitive can be, but also making sure that the fans, he gives them something to remember when they come up and watch.
And he loves those backs-on-backers drills.
Yes,
Gets those guys one-on-one. You won't see Oklahoma drills anymore, but you'll see something like that, and that's always interesting to see. Well, just like last season, all eyes are going to be on the quarterback spot for the Steelers. No battle this season. As we already know, Kenny Pickett is the #1 guy, QB1 under center. But now it's about his progression at this position. And for more on that, we turn it over to our colleague, Rich Walsh. Hey, Rich.
All right, thanks, guys. You could tell Kenny Pickett was much more comfortable and relaxed for this year's voluntary workouts and minicamp. He's not a rookie anymore. In fact, the pressure of the success of this offense rests pretty much on his shoulders. There's no QB competition this season. It's Kenny Pickett's team in year 2, and the Steelers are confident he will make a huge jump during his sophomore campaign.
I feel a lot more comfortable being in the system the second time around, being with these guys for year 2. So just, we're heading in the right direction. I feel that, so just got to keep showing up every day.
Pickett sparked the Steelers offense immediately last year when he replaced Mitch Trubisky at halftime against the New York Jets.
Pickett trying to sneak it, trying to get there. Touchdown!
But he also made a few rookie mistakes.
Pickett. Escape, thought about running, has the firing, stands at the sideline, Ikpenagany!
Pickett was the big reason the Steelers won 6 of their final 7 games to finish the season 9-8.
Pickett, over the middle, touchdown!
Now, with the year under his belt, Pickett is prepared and poised to get the Steelers back to the postseason.
We have that ability. We have the guys on the outside. We have the guys in the backfield and up front. We have everything in place that, if we go execute, we'll be able to go shot for shot with those guys. And that's the goal. Those teams that are playing deep into February, they have that, and that's what we need to get to.
His numbers were average during his rookie season. Some might say below average, but he has moxie and confidence, and numbers don't always matter when you win.
Obviously, this is Kenny's offense, and we're going to go as Kenny goes, and he's done a great job leading all of us, and I'm excited to see his role expand in the leadership role.
And the Steelers QB was pretty busy this offseason. He got married and spent some time away on his honeymoon in Puerto Rico. But before and after the wedding, he spent most of his time studying with some help from Minkah Fitzpatrick.
It's been great. I mean, I had the little spot last year. Now, like, Mink's in there with me, so a lot of the times I'm sitting there with him, like, kind of asking questions and stuff. And he's, you know, the best in the league, I think, you know, at his position, and he's a hell of a player. So to be able to sit there with him and kind of pick his brain on what he sees and how he acts in the secondary helps me, and, you know, helps me out there at practice, kind of try and play a little faster, and it'll translate over to the game.
Fitzpatrick is no doubt one of the leaders on defense, but Kenny has definitely stepped into that leadership role of the Steelers offense.
I just feel like it's kind of like a natural transition. I don't try to force anything. I just want to step up when I feel like I need to step up, and we have a lot of great veteran guys in the O-line and young guys in the offense that are all pushing in the same direction. So I think it's definitely a group effort, but I'll step up whenever I feel the need to. It comes with the job, man. It's just, you know, you have a feeling when you just step up and say something, you do it, and everyone, you know, gets the message. There's nothing disrespectful towards it, and everyone's moving to win.
So here's a look at those numbers from last season. They weren't great, but they weren't awful. And like I said before, Pickett is more than a stats QB. Completed 63% of his passes, 2,400 yards. His stat line has to get better right here. 7 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Adding 237 on the ground with 3 rushing touchdowns. Guys, I really hope they give him more freedom with this offense this season. But no matter what, he should be much better this season after getting to play significant time last year and an offseason and training camp as the starter heading into year 2.
Nothing like experience, Rich. All right, thank you very much. And so, Charlie, what are your expectations of Pickett this season? Specifically, what areas of his game would you like to see him improve? Yeah, I mean, this is going to remind me exactly of how Ben Roethlisberger went from year 1 to year 2. He had a chance to study all of his plays from the season before, very similar to what Kenny Pickett is going to do. You see what they did in the offensive line. He upgraded that. They expect the running game to get better. So when you have that, now he has to continue to gain the trust with Matt Canada to allow him to push the ball down the field. And to your point, Bob, you ask what steps he needs to take. They need to now go, because they were in the bottom third of the league with passes over 20 yards. They need to elevate that and add that to his arsenal. And if he can do that, those big plays will now be incorporated in this offense. And good point, not just those kinds of plays, but middle of the field plays as well. We didn't see them attack the middle of the field maybe as much as we would like to see. Meantime, we're just getting started right here on Steelers Training Camp All Access. And up next, we're going to take a look at some of the free agent additions to this roster. There were several. We'll talk about it next right here on KDKA.
Welcome back to FedEx Steelers Training Camp All Access. FedEx, where now meets next.
Welcome back, everyone. If you're making the trip to Latrobe, Pennsylvania this summer, there are some things you will need to keep in mind. Fans will be able to enter the campus at 11 o'clock a.m. for 155 practices, and they are free, but you must get and go through the mobile tickets at Ticketmaster. So you got to do that even if it's free. The only practice that has a fee is the Friday Night Lights. That's on August the 4th at Memorial Stadium. Well, as you know, it was an offseason of change for the Steelers, and General Manager Omar Khan was leading the charge to bolster the roster from last year. Let's take a look at some of the key free agent signings, and they were pretty busy in this offseason. Middle linebacker was a priority with the departures of Devin Bush. Think about him. Also, some of the other guys you see there. Cole Holcomb, Landon Roberts. Quarterback Patrick Peterson was the highest profile addition. The former All-Pro slated to take the spot of Cam Sutton, and Keanu Neal slotted in to a position voided by the loss of Terrell Edmonds. The team also added defensive lineman Braden Fehoko and linebacker Marcus Golden, Nick Kwiatkowski, Tanner Muse. Charlie, some of these names on defense this year, especially a middle linebacker. Of those additions, which one do you think will make the biggest impact on this team? Yeah, I will go right there, Landon Roberts, because he's the one, he has the most experience. But Cole Holcomb, he was battling some injuries throughout the OTA, so it's going to be interesting to see how he comes to camp, whether that hamstring is still lingering with him. But I think the name that we're missing out right now, I think, is Mark Robinson. This was a guy last year, made the roster, coming out of Ole Miss, was a running back converted to linebacker. He now should know that defense a little bit better, so I want to see him thrown into that mix as well. But either way, it's going to be new for everybody inside that middle of the defense, and this is an area that they knew they needed to change, and they went out and did that this season. They certainly did. 3 of the guys there are gone, and so all new ones come in. There were plenty of additions to the offensive side of the ball as well. Omar Khan, Mike Tomlin worked to better the supporting cast around Kenny Pickett, and that's big for a young quarterback. This team brought in Isaac Seumalo, and he's that big guy from Philadelphia, battle one of the guard spots. Meanwhile, Broderick Jones, drafted in the first round out of Georgia. He will likely compete with Dan Moore for a starting tackle. Veteran wide receiver Allen Robinson joins this offense after a short stint with the Rams. Others added this offseason include offensive lineman Nate Herbig, LaRaven Clark. They added a couple of seasoned veterans in Robinson and Sayamalu. So, Charlie, in addition to the talent, do you think those guys can help some of the young guys at their respective positions?
Absolutely agree. Isaac, you can see he's going to take over in that left guard position, but I think the key battle is going to be that left tackle position. Dan Moore Jr. and, of course, Broderick Jones. Everybody expects him to be a day one starter or opening day starter. He should get the majority of the starting reps. So if you get that point, it's going to be interesting to see all of those guys gelling up front. And if they can bring that veteran experience, Broderick Jones bringing the experience of what he did at Georgia, man, this is going to be an exciting offensive line to watch.
A lot of competition early on in camp. It's going to be fun to see. Meantime, Allen Robinson is expected to be the slot guy in this offense. He was mic'd up during offseason activities, and here are some of the examples that came out from the south side of practice, courtesy of Steelers TV.
You have a better chance of protecting it in the wrong hand, two hands over, rather than thinking about what hand I want to put it in. You feel me?
You always wear long sleeves? Games and stuff. When did you start doing that?
It's crazy. I don't wear long sleeves when it's cold.
For real?
Nope.
You're like opposite.
We don't got the nigga. Take 29, take 29, take 29, take 29. Yes, sir. That's perfect. That's perfect. Hey, KP, get one more. Yes, sir. That's on the money. Just gotta keep working. Gotta keep working. I tell everybody it's about repetition and knowing what you need to get accomplished.
Pretty interesting stuff. Thank you very much for Steelers TV for that footage. And Charlie, this guy Robinson coming in, a veteran in that slot. He's a natural there. I know they have Kelvin Austin, but it looks like he can make a big impact.
I agree with that. A 9-year guy out of Penn State, and everybody loves him around here because he's a Penn State guy. No, not everybody, but hey, it is what it is. But here he is, 3,000-yard seasons in his career, and I know the last one came in 2020. But if this guy can get back to being healthy, bringing that veteran presence, he could take some of that pressure off Deontay Johnson, open it up, for anyone else in that particular receiver room, because all the weapons that they have right now, Matt Canada is excited about it, but they need somebody that can stretch the field. Allen Robinson is that guy.
Take advantage of some accuracy, some good quick passes by Kenny Pickett, and could be instrumental in that offense. And coming up next, we have plenty of rookies to talk about after a successful Steelers draft too. We talk about those guys coming into town, a breakdown of some of the new names next.
Welcome back to FedEx Steelers Training Camp All Access. FedEx, where now meets next.
We continue. Training camp is upon us next week. Plenty of hype around the offseason. It all stemmed from the Steelers draft. The first under Omar Khan. Rich Walsh is back with a look at what happened in that class and the expectations of it. Rich?
Definitely high expectations. The Steelers are hoping to get major production from their new guys, specifically this rookie draft class. On paper, Steelers general manager Omar Khan hit a home run for his first draft. They traded up to get the protection they needed for Kenny Pickett, Georgia's Broderick Jones, who could be the anchor of the left side for a very long time. Jones had a productive minicamp and off-season workouts.
A lot of lessons to be learned, a lot of stuff I don't know, a lot of stuff that I still have to figure out. But at the end of the day, just being around the older, talking to them, taking in, soaking up all the knowledge they're giving me.
Many thought the Steelers would draft Joey Porter Jr., but not many thought he would fall to the Steelers with the first pick in the second round. He did and feels right at home at Steelers headquarters. Also feels like he has something to prove after sliding out of the first round. Porter said he's getting acclimated quickly to the pro game.
There's some little things that I can do, like after 5 yards, you can't touch the guy at all, so compared to college. So just me and Coach Grady just really been going over that, going through some of my old tapes, going through the tapes I've been through now at practice and seeing the difference of how I play the game. And I feel like we're learning pretty quickly, so I'm good right now.
Those two guys should make an impact right away, and the Steelers have potentially 5 or 6 rookies that could see significant playing time this season. The Steelers' other second-round pick, Wisconsin's big D lineman Keanu Benton, could help up front on defense. And speaking of big, Steelers' third-round selection, Georgia tight end Darnell Washington, could add a different dimension to this offense, not only in the passing game, but run blocking. But it also could take a little time.
I played at Georgia, so I thought I come here, I know mainly a lot of things already, but I mean, I still got tons of things to learn and things like that when it's like little details of routes and how to sell it, just a little head movement or things like that, just little things like that could lead to big things, you know. I feel like with Kenny, I mean, everything's like, well, probably just mainly all quarterbacks across the league. I mean, every throw is like right there, like, you know, like it's different from college or high school, like even high school, like not every throw is perfect. When you get here, it's just like everything on the timing thing. I got to be right, I got to get my routes right or whatever it may be, you know, just to get the timing right and things like that for the offensive play.
The Steelers drafted a couple of Georgia and Wisconsin guys. Linebacker Nick Herbig could add some depth outside and inside, but should be a big part of their special teams, along with 7th-round pick Purdue's Corey Trice, who is another big cornerback that is very similar to Porter. All right, this is a look at last year's class by numbers. Pickett and Pickens led the way. DeMarvin Leal quietly had a good season and should be more productive this year. Connor Hayward played 17 games, 12 catches, 151 yards, and Mark Robinson ended up getting 2 starts at the end of the season. The good news, Calvin Austin is healthy now and should be a factor in this offense, and Hayward will have more duties now that Derek Watt isn't on the team. Guys?
All right, Rich, thanks very much. And Charlie, you've been so many of these workouts during OTAs and minicamp. So what is your early impression of the big guy, Broderick Jones?
This guy can move. When you look at him, he is a gentle giant. This guy actually moves very well with his feet. They love exactly what he's doing in those drills. And, of course, he was running with the 2s in the OTAs, but I fully expect him to get the early nod when training camp opens for him to go out there and flourish and gel and hopefully be able to now communicate and get that experience what they need up front, because those 5 guys are going to be key if this season's going to go anywhere.
All right, let's talk about 2nd-round pick now, Joey Porter Jr. Do you think he has what it takes to be a starter right off the bat and every down guy right off the bat?
I really do, and here's why. Because his dad coached here. He played here. The language and the verbiage of this defense has not changed. So it's one thing to get coached in the building, but he's actually getting that at home. So when you get that particular point mentally, the game will slow down for him a lot faster than any other rookie on this team.
Yeah, they have Corey Trice Jr., too, another big guy who had big-time talent, got injured, and I'll be anxious to see number 27 in preseason games as well. And up next, we're going to take a look at some of that preseason schedule that we are very happy to present to you coming up in August. So keep it locked and loaded right here on KDKA.
Welcome back to FedEx Steelers Training Camp All Access. FedEx, where now meets next.
Well, with the start of training camp, you got the preseason games following them, and we are very happy to tell you we have all 3 here on KDKA this coming August. So let's take a look at some of these matchups. The first one is on the road against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on August the 11th. That's a 7 p.m. game. The next week, it's the lone home matchup against the Buffalo Bills at Acrisure. That one starts at 6:30 on August the 19th. And then the finale, Thursday night matchup against Atlanta in Atlanta, 7:30 again. All games here on KDKA. Gone are the days of going to Carolina for the last game of the year. So, Charlie, unlike last year, Kenny Pickett comes into this preseason as the starter. So how do you expect Mike Tomlin to give him reps? How much should he play in the preseason games?
Yeah, a lot of that's going to depend on what type of training camp that he has. If he gets out to a hot start, man, I only expect him to play maybe a quarter and a half in that very first preseason game. That means about 2 or 3 series. When they play Buffalo, I expect them to play a full half in that particular game, because what better way to test yourself in one of the AFC favorites coming into your stadium. And then, of course, when they play the Falcons down there, a lot of it, probably a quarter, get them game ready, and then get him out of there and allow everybody else to take place.
Yeah, because there's a lot of time between that game and the start of the season, so you want to get some action in there as well. And what about the guys in front of him now? They have a lot of new faces on their offensive line. How do you think Mike Tomlin will handle that rotation of players?
Well, again, it goes back to what type of training camp that they have as well. If all of those guys are gelling up front, then that's going to be something that he says, okay, I like what I saw with that first unit with Kenny Pickett, and then allow different rotations to go through, because a lot of these guys are playing for backup roles, maybe positions specific or flexibility, like Mike Tomlin likes to call it. Can they play tackle? Can they play guard? Some of those rotations could be out of sync, but he wants to see what those guys are capable of doing. But what better way for you to showcase it in these preseason games?
And you'll get to see them all right here on KDKA starting on August the 11th in Tampa Bay. We'll take a break, come back with more right here on Steelers All Access. One of the biggest nights of training camp. You'll see the video right here. It's Friday Night Lights on August the 4th at Latrobe Memorial Stadium. It's a great time for Steeler fans of all ages to get there, get up close and personal. Players sign autographs before practice. You can get cell phone pictures of your favorite players and coaches. Unlike what you'll really see at the regular practices, this is all on Friday, August the 4th, $5 to get in. At proceeds benefit Latrobe Area High School. That's always fun. Was that your best part of it? As you take a look at this training camp schedule, every day 1:55 except August the 4th and then the final one. Did you like that part, that August the 4th Friday Night Lights?
I really did. It took you back to high school football, playing under the lights, 7 o'clock. Man, it was exciting, and all of those fans, over 10,000 fans, man, what better way to go out and practice?
It really is. And again, when you go there, you got to understand the gates open at 11 a.m. Practice starts at 1:55. You got to go through the mobile ticketing process at Ticketmaster to get in, even though it is free of charge. That's going to do it. For Rich Walsh, Charlie Batch, I'm Bob Pompeani. Thanks for joining us. And here we go, another season of Steeler football. We'll get it going next week on KDKA, live from Steelers training camp in Latrobe. Have a good night.